Here I'm back. It has gone to live streaming now, and I'm going to start recording of this session, and we can formally start.
Thank you.
Right now.
Okay. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on EPTA's website in the coming days. It will also be archived on the authority's Facebook page where this is a live streaming. Please do not put this call on hold if you are joining via phone. This will play hold music through the webinar platform. Instead, we encourage you to hang up and call in again when you are ready. We will be happy to welcome you back. Please keep your phones on mute when not speaking to the group. This will silence any background noise, allowing for clear audio for those participating and watching on Facebook Live. There is a microphone icon at the bottom of your screen that you can click to mute and unmute your line at any time. To access all panel icons, please toggle your mouse over the screen and the images will appear. If you forget to mute your line, an NBTA staff member may do so if any background noise is detected. If you see a line through the microphone icon, click to unmute. There's a chat box option. Should you have any questions, please be aware that any chats in the chat feature may be downloaded by NBTA staff after the meeting. And it is possible to limit attendees' ability to chat to only reach the host. It may be useful if you wish for the chat feature to be used for technical difficulties. Only adjust this guidance as appropriate. You can utilize the raise hand feature so you have a question or comment instead of speaking. To use the raise hand feature, please go to the participants icon, which looks like the outline of a person at the bottom of your screen. Go to your name and you'll see a small circular icon containing the image of a hand right beside your name. Click on this to notify the host you'd like to speak. Please be sure to unmute your line when it is time to speak. You can also use let the group know verbally if you have a comment, if you see an opportunity to do so. The raise hand feature is a way to avoid participants talking over one another and any potential echoing as a result. When done, you can lower the raised hand by clicking on the hand icon once again. Only the host will be able to see all the raised hands and will use the tool to facilitate participation. Okay, I call the May 27th Northern Virginia Transportation Authority Planning Coordination Advisory Committee to order on May 27th. And welcome everybody. It's been a while since we've seen each other. Not always easy to do these meetings online, but we'll get through this together. And now I will call the roll. Supervisor Saines.
I'm here.
Okay. Board Chair Libby Garvey. Supervisor Alcorn.
I'm here, Madam Mayor-elect.
You are. Hello. Thank you. Okay, great. Supervisor Franklin.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bennett Parker.
Here.
Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Duncan.
I'm here.
Councilmember Davis Younger. Councilmember Banks.
Here.
Councilmember Miles.
Present.
And Councilmember Friedrich.
Present. Signe Friedrichs.
Signe Friedrichs. Okay, I was working on pronouncing your name before this, so I want to get that right. And thank you. And Councilmember Fox. Councilmember Fox is not here. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. The first item, we need to do a resolution to conduct our meeting. As a result of the COVID-19 and Governor Northam's declaration of state of emergency, the authority's Planning Coordination Advisory Committee meeting is being held electronically. With the recent passage of the amendments to HB 29, the FOIA bill, which allows regional bodies such as the authority and their committees to conduct business meetings electronically, this evening's business meeting is being held remotely. Doing so will enable us to keep safety as a top priority while ensuring that we're adhering to social distancing requirements. Meeting by electronic means is authorized because the items on the May 27, 2020 committee meeting agenda are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations of the authority. And tonight we are, instead of taking a vote by all, I'm actually going to take a vote individually. It's just easier to do that electronically. So we need to vote on that action item. Supervisor Sains.
Aye.
Okay. Board, oh, she's not there, sorry. Supervisor Alcorn,
Aye.
Supervisor Franklin,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bennett Parker,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Miles,
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks,
Aye.
and she's not there. Councilmember Fox. Okay, great. All right, and that passed. And that passed. And now, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of February 26th?
Supervisor Sains here. I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second, this is Signe Friedrichs.
Okay, and I will call a vote to that also. Supervisor Sains,
Aye.
Supervisor Alcorn,
I have to abstain. I was not in attendance.
okay. Vice Mayor Bennett Parker,
I also need to abstain.
okay. Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Miles,
Hi, and Madam Chair, I do believe Councilmember Davis Younger has joined us.
hello, Councilmember Davis Youngers. We are approving the minutes of February 26th. Would you like to vote on that? Is she there? Okay, we'll go on. Councilmember Frederick?
Yes.
All right, and that passes. Okay. Then-
I'm
Yes.
sorry, Ms. Colbert.
Yes.
This is Supervisor Franklin. I don't think I voted on that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss you? I'm sorry. Supervisor Franklin?
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry I missed you. Okay, and that passed. And now for the 6-year program update, Mr. Nampathiri.
Thank you, Ms. Colbert and committee members. This is Sri Nampathiri, Senior Transportation Planner at NVTA. As you know, we just completed the public comment period for our 6-year program update. We ran the public comments from March 13th till May 24th, and we have received close to 1,000 comments. We are still, as you know, 24th Sunday was a deadline, Monday was a holiday, so our staff is still crunching through all these comments, and we still don't have a final number, exact number to give to you, but we know that it is close to 1,000. As you know, we also received 26 testimony at the public hearing at the last authority meeting. Just before the authority meeting, we had that public hearing. So including that, we are close to 1,000. But as you know, some people send their comments by email and then they go to the website and send the same comment via our website. And some people actually then come to the public hearing and give a testimony too. So we need to kind of sieve through this and avoid any duplications, double counting, things like that. So we are still doing that. But at this point, I can say that we are close to 1,000 comments. And the highlight here is that I want to bring your attention to a couple of projects which received a lot of attention. Number one is the WNOD trail enhancements in Arlington. The project proposes to separate bike and pedestrian users in that segment Right now, they're all in one path. So this project received 300 plus comments, and I would say that majority of that, I don't have the actual number yet, but majority of that is in support of the project. Though we heard a lot of opposing comments about this project at the public hearing, when we tally all the public comments, support is more, support outweigh the opposition. And the main reasons they support the project is that this improves the safety of users, that improves there is a lot of congestion the users are feeling on the trail, and this project will reduce that congestion and reduce the safety issues. Main opposition points include impact on environment of the surrounding areas. The second project I want to highlight is Van Buren Road, Van Buren North extension in Prince William County. Here I would say we received more than 250 comments, but it's like equally, more or less equal support and opposition to the project. Supporting comments include this reduces congestion in the general vicinity of that project and improve the safety on some of the arterials there where people use those local and arterial streets as cut-through traffic now. The opposition obviously includes where the new proposed road is there. The people feel that that might increase cut-through traffic in some other neighborhood. So it's a question of where you live and what kind of perception you have on that impact of project. Then there are a few projects that received somewhere between 10 and 50 supporting, mostly supporting comments, and 5 projects out of the 41 projects we are considering, 5 projects didn't receive any comments. So as you see, we received comments ranging many projects, but most of them are focused on 3 to 5 projects maybe. At this point, as I said, we are still going through the analysis and crunching through this to come up with the final numbers and see what the public is really supporting or opposing any particular project. Once we get to that, we want to bring all that information as well as a staff recommendation based on all the previous evaluation and this public comment to the committees first. So the next step for you will be to see all those public comments and the staff recommendation at your next meeting. I understand that that meeting is not yet finalized, but we need to finalize that at the earliest. Thank you. At this point, I'll take any questions if anyone has any questions.
Anyone have any questions? I cannot see everyone. If you want, you can use the raise hand button. I know Mr. Rashid, you can see those. I don't think I can see those because you're the host.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Okay, and I cannot see who just said that.
This is Supervisor Sains for Loudon.
Thank you. Supervisor Sains, please ask.
Thank you, Shri. Thank you for that update. Is there any way to get not just the comments on the projects you mentioned, but are we going to be able to see all the comments from everything?
Yes, when we put all these things together, before your, I think we will include a summary of all the comments in your next packet, but that will also include a link to the whole documents that we will put together all the comments about all the projects, and we will upload it on our website and give you a link so you can go through that. As you know, 1,000+ comments, so including that in the packet would be too much, but we can give you a link.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other comments, questions?
Yes, Chair. Council Member Fredericks have raised hands.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my question is this a normal, did we receive the normal amount of comment for this kind of fairly long, I mean, we had lots and lots of projects. Do we normally receive about 1,000, or is this low because of Corona, or is it perfectly normal?
We are probably in the ballpark. Last time actually we had a lot more funds to allocate than this time, but still we evaluated more projects last round. If I remember correctly, 60 projects, and still we had around the same amount of comments. So I don't think COVID impacted anything. People still can send emails and call us or send us, send us comments through the form on our website or by mail, USPS mail. So people have used all those different options we had. And one place where we may haven't reached to the usual level is maybe the public hearing. And that definitely is probably an impact of COVID-19.
Okay. And do you think that, is it normal for so many projects not to receive any comment at all?
That I think is normal. As I said, we didn't receive any comments about only 5 projects, but about 10 projects probably received 1 or 2 comments, and that's not abnormal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? A question or comment?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Supervisor Franklin. Forgive me, I don't know where the raised hand icon is, but
Okay.
yeah, just had a quick question. I believe at some point the overpass for 123 and Route 1 was on a list, and I'm wondering if that's still the case and if there was any feedback, or if any part of the Route 1 widening was part of the list as well.
So
I'm new to this, so forgive me if I don't know.
No problem. So we have 2 Route 1 widening project in this round of funding, the applications we received. One is in Fairfax County. I think that's the one you are talking about, probably.
Prince William.
Okay. Yeah. No. So yeah. So the one is in Fairfax County, and the second one is in town of Dumfries. So both these projects were analyzed, and if I remember correctly from my list, Dumfries project received some comments, but not like the 2 other projects that I mentioned where hundreds of feet received hundreds of comments. I don't have a total number of how many comments we received on Dumfries project, but I believe it is somewhere around 10 to 15 maybe. I think all of them are in support.
And then any word on if the overpass at 123 and Route 1 was included?
I don't think that was included in any of the applications we received.
Thank you.
I wonder, Mr. Namputheri, do you think that you could send out a list of the projects again to everyone? I think, yeah, that might be helpful.
Yeah, as a follow-up, we can do that.
Thank
you. All that information, yes.
Thank you. It's been a while and some people are new. So that would be great. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any comments or questions right now? Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the transaction update. Mr. Jasper?
Thank you, Chair. I will be fairly brief. One of our 2 primary for our 6-year program. The authority kicked off the update with a listening session for transaction at its January meeting this year. We are in a pre-procurement mode at the moment, and we are looking to have a consultant on board in the fall of this year, and the transaction update will take a couple of years, and we're looking for the adoption of the new transaction update in or by the end of calendar year 2022. Just as a reminder to members of the committee, not only are transaction and the 6-year program the authority's 2 primary responsibilities, they are joined at the hip in the sense that although our long-range plan looks out 20-25 years, the 6-year program can only include projects that are in transaction. In other words, we can only fund projects with regional revenues in our 6-year program if they are in the current version of transaction. So although transactions are a long-range plan, it's really, really important with respect to our programming process. So that's just a little bit of context for you. Let's see here. The actual work is going to be phased just to help us manage the process in perhaps a more structured way than the last update. This is one of the lessons learned from the last update, but I won't kind of get into those details too much at this time. One thing I would note, though, the authority staff does not have in-house modelling capabilities, transportation modelling capabilities. We have staff who have those abilities, but we don't actually have the tools in-house to do that. So we rely heavily on a consultant for that work. But as part of this update, we are looking to at least transition some of that capability in-house. So by the end of the transaction update, we will have some limited modelling capabilities in-house, although I do believe we'll continue to update transaction using external resources, because it's such a surge in activity for us. That's the big picture on the update. In terms of the procurement, I can't really say very much. There's not much is appropriate to share, but we will be focusing very heavily on the technical capabilities of the firms that submit to us, and public engagement, as in previous cycles, will be really important to this process. A little bit closer to home, we in terms of timing, we've undertaken a number of activities in-house that we previously focused on our external resources, simply because, MBTA has got more staff and it's more mature now in doing this work internally. One of the things we're looking at in the very near future is a review of the vision and goals of transaction. The vision and goals have generally been fairly stable over multiple iterations of transaction updates, and it's kind of fairly normal for us to review the vision and goals to make sure they are still appropriate. We are exploring with your staff, looking at whether the vision should be modified slightly to perhaps have more emphasis on sustainability and resilience in the transportation system. So I expect that possibly your next meeting, we will actually have a bit more information to share with you on that. Obviously, anticipating at your next meeting, the main discussion is going to be about the 6-year program recommendations. We won't take too much time on that agenda to talk about vision and goals for transaction, but we may just touch on it to give you a flavour of where that's going and revisit that at the later meeting. We have, under the transaction umbrella, issued a new task order very recently to undertake some analysis related to the COVID pandemic and the post-pandemic impacts on transportation, particularly, we've all observed a reduction in congestion and are painfully observed that transit ridership has taken a really big hit as a result of the pandemic. And perhaps on the upside, a number of firms in the region have embraced work from home at a level that they previously have not done, in large part because there's been a governor's orders to actually do it. But we're very interested in getting feedback from the business community as to their experiences with new work from home arrangements, and then kind of extrapolating that forwards to understand what that might mean in terms of congestion, ridership, and other transportation impacts. So that task is underway, and we expect to report back to the authority by July. So it's a very fast-paced piece of work, and when it's complete, it will itself form an input to the next transaction update, which, as I mentioned earlier, we hope to have the consultant on board during the fall, so that actually fits together fairly well from our timing by being able to do that now. Finally, I would say that our executive director, Monica Backman, about 18 months ago, recognized the need to get more advice from the transportation community and others on transportation technologies and their potential role in Northern Virginia to complement traditional infrastructure approaches. That's something we embraced in the last transaction update, and I expect we'll be embracing it even more so in the next update. But this Transportation Technology Committee that Monica put together has been asked to help us develop a transportation technology strategic plan for Northern Virginia. And this strategic plan is in the works. Expect it to be coming before the committee for review and comments over the coming months. And that too will form an input to the next update to transaction. So just want to let you know that while 6-year program is the focus, there's a whole load of activity going on transaction in parallel, but just a bit behind the scenes. It's a first time for us to actually be undertaking both our 2 primary responsibilities simultaneously. So it makes for very interesting times. But as I say, more on that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jasper. That's a lot. Any questions for Mr. Jasper or comments?
I had a question, Madam Chair, and I don't see Libby Garvey. I'm sorry. I don't see the hand thing either. I'm sorry.
Welcome.
That's all right. Yeah, I wanted to just get Mr. Jasper's reaction, or maybe other staff, to a conversation I had about, I think it's been about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, with one of our transportation staff members. And they'd been working on a regional study, I think through Council of Governments. So it was stretched into Maryland and out into Virginia. And looking at things, we were talking about, programs coming up, and she looked at me very seriously. She said, I have to tell you, we looked at this and did all of the calculations, and even if we build all of these projects, looking at the projected growth and the projected traffic, we're not going to make it much better at all. That the only way to really get things moving well in the region is for a lot more people to be working from home. Obviously, that's been echoing my head lately. But it was interesting to me, and I just love your reaction, that what I can't got away from that is that we're still going to need transit. We're going to need the transportation, but that actually, with a lot more people working from home, we can maybe make it all work well, rather than constantly be kind of behind. So that's just a conversation I had 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and would love any kind of reaction. It's a big picture, but seeing as you were talking about the study and trying to look into the future a little bit, I'd be interested in any thoughts you had, or anybody else.
Yes, I mean, Chair, if I may, Ms. Garvey, thanks the question. It is a very challenging situation that you outlined. We mentioned frequently during the last transaction update that through 2040, the region is forecasting population growth of 24% in Northern Virginia, 37% growth in jobs in Northern Virginia, which is all great for the regional economy, but it's not so great for the regional transportation system. And you're absolutely right that work from home, travel demand management, shared mobility, all have to be regarded in conjunction with traditional infrastructure, and there's a role for all of those things in the approach. We touched on this in the last update to transaction, and we certainly made provision within transaction to be able to fund some of those things. Obviously, there are some things like work from home. It's hard to see exactly what we would fund there. That's kind of more of a policy topic, and that's why we wanted to work more closely with the business community to understand, particularly from the IT departments and the human resource departments of companies, about what are the challenges, what worked, what didn't work, can they make it continue to work for themselves in the future? Because it seems as though the pandemic has in a way been a giant experiment in this regard that we couldn't possibly have hoped to kind of accomplish, nor would we want to under these circumstances. The only way we could look at that would be through modeling, but we've actually got a real world experience here to learn from. So, I mean, I would agree, looking out to 2040, we could spend a lot of money on infrastructure, but with those growth trends continuing unabated within the region, if we can maintain where we are, that's probably a pretty decent outcome. But to make things improve dramatically, then I mean, work from home, travel demand management, shared mobility, definitely have to be things that are in the mix.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it seems to me if we continue to improve some, that we actually have a chance of really making it all work well. Whereas what I picked up before was, no matter how, with that kind of growth, that we just weren't going to be able to manage to make it ever kind of function well. So anyway, I'm always trying to find something that's hopeful right now these days. So anyway, it'll be interesting to look at all the modeling and how it comes out. I mean, people are always, I don't care how much you work from home, people are going to need to get out and move around. You got that many people, we got to make sure they can still move. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Chair Garvey. Anyone else have any comments on that or anything else for Mr. Jasper?
This is Councilmember Friedrichs.
Yes.
I have left my hand up so long, I think nobody cares it anymore.
Sorry, I don't know if I can see it.
I found Supervisor Garvey's observations really important because, as we become a more dense region, and we're already very, very dense, but in Herndon, we are more dense than most of the rest of Fairfax County, for example, and we continue to build. And the question is always, how are we going to get people to where they want to go without tormenting them? So yes, working from home and this experiment, I think, is, although the reason is very unfortunate, may move us in a much more positive direction as far as managing this density and growth. I was also intrigued by Ms. Blackman's Technology and Transportation Committee because I'm on the Fairfax County Economic Advisory Committee, and we spent a lot of time talking about autonomous vehicles and different ways of using new technology, which I think to a lot of us is a little bit overwhelming. So I'm hoping that there's some relationship between Ms. Blackman's committee and the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. And since Supervisor Alcorn is on the call, I assume there'll be some, if there wasn't already, there'll be some more. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. If I may, Chair Gilbert, it's just a quick response to the and supervised. Fact has got good representation, and also certainly, autonomous vehicles is something that's very much in our minds. Although I would say that we are not limiting the committee's work to just connected and autonomous vehicles, which are obviously, for mass market. But there are opportunities as well looking at, but particularly understanding what the authority's role should be in all these different technology activities.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else have a comment? Okay, we're going to move on to the NVT update. Good to see you.
Good to see everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I will be brief because Sri and Keith cover, the big items that we have. But I did want to inform the committee, those of you who are not aware, during the veto session that was held on April 22nd, two things. Going back, the authority did receive $50 million in funds, revenue. Some of our restoration, we received $50 million as part of the omnibus transportation bill. But due to the veto session and what happened, and given the revenue impacts of COVID, there are some delays. So I do want to know, first of all, the $50 million is still intact, which is great, but there will be some delays. So 5 cents of the grantors that we will receive, we will start to collect it July 1 of this calendar year. Then the 10-cent portion, we will start to collect it May of next year. The $20 million that we're to receive from the Commonwealth Transportation Fund, which is state money, because the grantors portion, that's Northern Virginia. But the $20 million that we were to receive from the state, that we will start to receive it July 1. The Commonwealth has shared with us that they will remit that payment to the authority on a quarterly basis. So we will keep you posted on that. Earlier, when Sri mentioned the 6-year program, at the authority's May meeting, they did adopt $522 million as the pay-go amount to populate the 6-year program. Now, this includes the $50 million that we are to receive as part of the omnibus transportation bill. But I do want to note, we're not saying that, oh, in FY 2022, we will have $50 million. We are estimating conservatively. We understand the impacts of COVID. So we're looking at a phased approach to, especially when you look at the grantors piece. And we do estimate conservatively. The other issue was the I-81 money. Now, we've had this discussion before, how the funds from I-81 really weren't coming in as expected. So we have taken that into account as well when we arrived at the $522 million estimate. And that estimate is for fiscal years 24 and 25. So for I-81, I think we're on target to receive by the end of this fiscal year about $2.5 million. Initially, the way I-81 was set up, we were to receive about $9.7 million in fiscal year 20, about $13.8 in FY 2021, and from FY 2022 and beyond, it was supposed to be $20 million. I know Laura Farmer, VDOT CFO, did present to the Commonwealth Transportation Board back in March, whereas she did state that these numbers were probably, and she had a chart showing some reductions. But now, given the impact of COVID, the Commonwealth says it's going to take them about 60 days or so. I'm looking in September to come back with some revised revenue estimates. Are there any questions on that?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bachman. Any questions? Comments? Okay.
So And just to continue on regarding the 522 again, that is a pay-go number. We do not anticipate issuing debt as part of this 6-year program update. And going back to what Sri said earlier, we are looking for an authority adoption of this program on July the 9th. Also, I did want to let the committee know that we have 2 additional members on the authority. As you may be aware, we have 3 members of the General Assembly, 2 members of the House of Delegates, and 1 Senate seat. Well, the Speaker of the House did appoint Delegate Danica Rome and Delegate Vivian Watts to the 2 House seats. We have not heard from the Senate just yet. So now we have a 16-member body, and we are waiting to hear about the Senate appointment.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Ms. Hoffman, anything else?
No, I think that's it. Again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to give me a call or email, text. We are trying to process all of the public comments we received. I know there was a comment earlier, is this normal? I would say it's on par. And like Sri said, the only thing is the attendance at the public hearing. But we discouraged people from physically coming out. We did not want people to come out. But we did have 1 citizen who did come, and he stayed for the duration of the meeting. But other than that, I think it was pretty par for the course regarding the comments and the number of responses received.
Yeah, it's good. That's great. Okay, if there is no one else, anyone else want any just in general questions that anybody has? It's been a while since we've met, and some of you are new to the PCAC. Okay, and I think our next meeting is going to be June 17th. I believe we're going to get an email soon asking about what time, and we're gonna agree to something, maybe 6 o'clock, I think. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone motion to adjourn?
Supervisor Alcorn moves.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Second? Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Everybody stay well.
Thank you.
Well, wear your mask out in public.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Be safe.